and internationally in the business sphere. The big stories tonight. Mutukula border steadily recovering from the COVID-19 interruption. Hotel and tourism sector workers struggling with unemployment. And Uganda coffee sector in the spotlight. And across the borders, a cargo ship stalls traffic on the Suez Canal. With this and more, stay tuned because it's time for business. Mutukula one-stop border post in Rakai district has steadily recovered after the COVID-19 major interruptions in 2020. Now, for the past year, exporters and importers have faced long transit times due to the COVID-19 testing at the border points or the ports. Dennis Sigoa with more details.
Uganda has marked 1 year since it went under lockdown in order to curb the spread of coronavirus. Although the country has been recognized among the best in combating the spread of coronavirus globally, the social and economic impacts of the stringent rules and guidelines are still being felt far and wide. In its quest to stop or limit imported infections, government moved fast and closed all the major border points across the country. At Mutukula border post in Rakai district, business here literally came to a standstill.
When COVID-19 started, all businesses were interrupted. We used to make 50,000 a day, but right now we cannot even make 20,000.
Some of the businesses, the groceries, have literally opened because many people made losses.
The border, which links Uganda, a landlocked country, to the outside world through the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, could not operate optimally for some months. However, 1 year down the road, Mutukula border is almost back to its best. This is credited on continuous stakeholder engagement on issues pertaining to coronavirus and border operations.
We've held various meetings. We have a COVID committee that normally sits, and we keep on enforcing the SOPs, keeping on reminding our counterparts about the data. So I can say meetings through our continuous engagement with our stakeholders on the other side. We hold meetings monthly and at times impromptu meetings to further engage them and tell them how serious we are.
Hundreds of cargo trucks heading to various destinations can be seen exiting the border post or parked awaiting clearance. The time spent waiting for COVID-19 results at the border has significantly reduced. Initially, one had to wait for days, but now, within 24 hours, the results are available.
If someone is tested at 8 a.m., within 2.5 hours, the COVID results are released. This has eased movement. As Test and Fly, we charge 170,000 Uganda shillings for the test and 100,000 Tanzania shillings.
These new developments have helped in reducing the turnaround time for cargo trucks, improved profitability for the business community, impacted positively on the local economy, and last but not least boosted truck drivers' morale.
Right now, the situation is far much better. The driver is worked on very fast and continues with the journey.
Business is almost back to normalcy here at Mutukula. In the Ugandan side and Tanzanian side, business is booming. The police officers who are deployed at the border are no longer there. However, the users of this facility are urged not to drop their guard and adhere to the COVID-19 standard operating procedures.
We still have a section of people being at borderline with Tanzania who believe that COVID is a myth. So even if you tell them to put on a mask or keep social distance, they will think, they will laugh at you. So the mindset of the people who believe that COVID is not there also has been a challenge. They don't want to follow, some of them, they don't want to follow the rules. But good enough within the OSBP here, with the stakeholders I work with, most of us are well conversant with the dangers of the disease.
In a week, over 1,000 trucks from Tanzania to Uganda and to various destinations in the region passed through Mutukula.
Safari iko safi, hakuna matatizo. Uganda safi, hamna matatizo barabarani. Hakuna askari anasumbua. Nimetoka Dodoma na kama siku ya 5 leo. Yeah.
Naelekea Juba. Safari.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dennis Igoa and Charlotte Muge for UBC News.
Now, despite the gradual recovery from the adverse effects of the COVID-19, thousands of workers in the hotel and tourism industry were stopped from working during the mandatory lockdowns in March 2020. But they are still struggling to find stable jobs. According to data from the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, over 150,000 workers were still on unpaid leave by December 2020.
I personally was laid off in March. And it's been a year now, ever since I was laid off.
It is a year now since COVID-19 effects ravaged Uganda's economy, with some sectors taking a worse blow compared to others.
This is something that was not planned for, was not budgeted for, was not anticipated. So even us, as the leaders of the industry, it's a learning curve every single day. We had to learn to go through lockdown. We had to learn to go through the election time. We are now anticipating, God forbid, a second wave, hoping against hope we do not get into that. So we can't plan as we used to because it's a completely new phenomenon.
As the hospitality industry of Uganda regains its momentum from these adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, workers in the tourism-led sector have spoken about their plight.
Now, this means that throughout this period, I have been struggling because I've not been having an income. That means I have shifted from where I was renting to somewhere that I can afford.
I know what it feels to be down and don't have anything to feed. I know how it feels when you are thrown out from the house. I know how it feels you are ashamed in front of your family when you don't have anything to feed them. Honestly, this is what is happening in the tourism sector. People working in our bars, people working in our hotels, immensely people have lost jobs. But why? Because no one is caring. No one has shown concern.
Kennedy has worked 8 years in the industry, while Arthur for 3 years. They both fault the hospitality sector's leaders for underestimating the seriousness of their fate.
If the leaders cannot come out to tell the people responsible that now we had these people who are working for us in this industry, but they no longer get our assistance, or they are they were our employees, but we cannot sustain them because of the business decline. So how then can we help them? So nobody has come out to echo out that.
To us, the youth in the tourism sector, we are trying to call upon the people who are responsible, okay? Who are responsible. I myself have approached different people in our line ministry. For example, Honorable Chiwanda Suvi. I can say this on record. I have approached him several times. I have called him several times. I wrote to him officially, addressing all matters in this sector. Honestly, we have lost jobs, immense jobs.
Uganda has 6,291 hotels, employing more than 273,994 people, directly and indirectly. But the hospitality industry is struggling, following disruption in travel and tourism, making it hard to sustain workers at full capacity.
Everybody knows that in 2020 we completely closed our doors, so we had virtually no income, and yet our expenses still remain the same. We still had people on the payroll, we still had to pay for utilities, water and electricity, we still had to pay taxes, we still had to service loans. So without any source of revenue, a stimulus package makes sense, and it still does make sense, because even right now, much as the economy has basically opened up, for us in the tourism industry, it's still very different. We are still operating at a fraction of the capacities that we are capable of. We still have SOPs in place. We still have limitations in numbers. We still have hybrid meetings. Instead of having a packed hall, you can only have a hybrid meeting. So there is still a lot of limitations which impact our bottom line, which then impact on our operations.
Laid off workers are now wondering what should be done to get them on the road once again.
I usually quote the president because he has been so inspirational. He says, the problem is the Ngabula. How will the Ngabula be if if the fund is out for the respective people, like the bar owners and the hospitality industry, or maybe any other industry that has been affected, much affected during the COVID-19.
To me, I'm saying tourism sector should be helped in the sense that these people should be given money. These hotels should be given money. These Afro lodges, casinos and bars should be given money to revive them. So that they should not lay off those people, because once they lay off big number of people become unemployed, it means that's a problem to the country.
The future for hundreds of these hotel workers is still uncertain. Many have relocated up country where the cost of living is affordable as they chart a way forward. But most of those in the central business district, town councils and cities like Arthur and Kennedy are appealing to leaders in the tourism sector to consider their plight and come to their rescue. Wadulo Makanold, Nsamba Juma, UBC News. Uganda coffee exporters have been urged to utilize the multi-modal transport system on the Central Corridor in order to affordably access international markets. This follows the rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway in Tanzania and refurbishment of ships that ply the Mwanza-Port Bell route. Let's take a look.
Coffee stakeholders drawn from Uganda's public and private sector converged in Kampala to discuss issues pertaining to routes and shipping delays. Since time immemorial, coffee has been one of the leading revenue earners for the country. However, over the years, the sector players have endured difficulties in getting their harvest from the farm to the international markets.
Uganda's coffee in Kenya was being stolen with impunity. Government officials, ministers were involved. They would intercept the coffee, take it to the get police to escort it to the warehouse. They offload it from Uganda Coffee Marketing Board bags and load it into Kenya Coffee Board bags.
At the meeting, the Central Corridor, whose gateway is at the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, was cited as a better and affordable option not only for coffee but all bulk exports and imports.
And of course, we are encouraging the movement of cargo through the lake. You know very well that movement over the lake is always cheaper compared to the road. And for economics purposes, I think it is an option some of us should consider. Of course, the rehabilitation is coming to an end. So most of the back sections of the tracks somewhere after Dodoma have been actually rehabilitated. The bridges have been rehabilitated.
The journey from Port Bell to Mwanza is just less than 24 hours. So we've cut the time from Dar es Salaam to Kampala. We do 4 days. We do 4 days at our best. At our worst, we do 6 days. So that's an advantage. And the pricing is again fairer compared to the other route.
The stakeholders meeting, supported by the Central Corridor Transit Facilitation Agency, comes at a time when regional and international business environment need to be improved after disruptions of freight and logistics in 2020.
We had the COVID pandemic and the lockdown which followed in the first quarter, starting in China, followed by other countries, kept locking down, and that totally disrupted trade.
Uganda approximately exports over 500,000 bags of coffee per month, and according to financial year 2019-2020, Uganda exported 5.3 million bags of coffee, and of these, over 90% of the total coffee exports used cargo trucks as transport means to the coast. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
The Agribusiness Development Center has updated its price risk management training to impart Ugandan coffee farmers and exporters with knowledge on how to remain profitable amidst the existing challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, challenges like elastic price fluctuations and customs delays are the current encounters that Ugandan coffee farmers and exporters are dealing with. Delays of returning cargo trucks from the Democratic Republic of Congo due to the COVID-19 SOPs at the border points is challenging Ugandan coffee exporters who rely on the same trucks to transport their coffee to the port of Mombasa.
Containers are very scarce. The Mombasa trucks are not available. So it takes us a lot of time to ship a consignment from here to the final consumer. It used to take like 1 week coffee to leave Kampala to Mombasa, but now it can take a month.
We rely more on the trucks that have taken goods to Congo, and when they return, they are going back, they pick our coffee. Now, during the COVID, it was difficult to get the trucks to pick the coffee and bring it here. Also, the closure of Rwanda border, that means that all the trucks that were returning from Rwanda were cut off. So it also affected the rate at which we could ship our contracts. But the most controversial part was when they started checking the truck drivers for COVID.
The Agribusiness Development Center was set up by Rabo Foundation and DFCU Bank to train farmer-based organizations and SMEs in agribusiness.
The cost.
Because if you ask me 95 million,
As new challenges in the coffee and cocoa value chains emerge, this price risk management training program is expected to help its beneficiaries remain profitable.
We have also learned other techniques that are required by mostly financiers, because you can't do this without borrowing from, mostly we do it from overseas financiers. They are called the offshore funds. And so they have given us tools like we are taught here, the typical cash flow pattern you have to produce to the financiers.
I've learned so many things that we have not been using, like how to calculate prices, especially the premiums, and how to determine prices, like if London is high and then the fair trade minimum price is low, that I should go with the highest market.
One of the key lessons that the price risk management training is imparting to its trainees is how to leverage the fair trade standard, which protects the exporters with a minimum price during economic recovery.
We've interacted with FOSI, fair trade, and the organic market. FOSI is a benchmark for the specialty markets, but fair trade is a modified model, because for it has a minimum price and a higher premium. Its standard is also very elaborate and helps us as an organization to run, because it gives us a guidance on how we should govern the association.